Hey guys. Well, I guess we should address the elephant in the room. This is not a Dodge Challenger. So, long story short, a few weeks ago when I was reviewing the Dodge Challenger that I had at 12 years, 100,000 miles, I noted that it was a really great car, and it was. They are great cars, the Dodge Challenger and Charger. They're just really well-built cars, and that's all you can say about them. They're good cars. They're fun, they're spacious, they're comfortable, just really good cars. Thing is, I also mentioned that I needed more performance. You know, my car is a second vehicle. It's just a summertime toy. I have a small budget. I don't want to spend a lot of money on a toy. Um, so, I was looking at having to spend several $1,000s on the Challenger to kind of get it to a somewhat respectable performance point performance wise. And the more I thought about it, I was like, if I spend several $1,000s on it, you go into the engine, you do camshaft, long tube headers, all this stuff, dyno tune it and everything, then where do I end up? Well, where I end up is somewhere around 425, maybe 450 horsepower, depending on what cam I went with. Thousands of dollars, lots of labor, and you end up where a car like this is right out of the box. So since it's all about performance, it's just a second car, I want something that's fast and more fun to drive, and I quite frankly just want to keep up with everybody else. I decided the best thing to do was just trade it and get something that's more powerful and faster out of the box. So I started looking at C6 Corvettes or 5.0 Coyote Mustangs. I found this really sweet specimen here and I decided to go for it. This is a 13 model GT Premium, stick shift, 5.0 obviously, so it's 420 horsepower right out of the box, and it's completely stock. So, I can do some very minor things to this car and get big power out of it, and that's kind of where I was going. Has nothing to do with whether or not I liked the Challenger, because I love that Challenger. It was a cool car, had a lot of fun with it, and I will always love those Dodge cars. Sad that they're going to bring them to an end at the end of this year, because they're just awesome cars. But for my purpose, for this thing, which is to have a fast, more high performance car, I just felt like this is the way to go. Just a better platform. So anyway, now that that's out of the way, the point of the video today is this little dude right here. So this is a Whistler Model 1743 radar detector. So I bought this radar detector about 20 years ago at a store called Circuit City, which is no longer even in business. And I used this thing for a few years, and then over time, it ended up getting tossed in the toolbox. I just didn't want to fool with it anymore. So for the last 15 years or more, it's just been sitting in the bottom of my toolbox. Well, a lot of things have happened over the last 15 years. I mean, we've got smartphones came into existence, social media, just the way technology has blown up. I mean, there's been a lot of technological advancement over the last 15 to 20 years. So recently I was cleaning out my toolbox because I got a new toolbox. I finally, after 20 years, bought myself a new toolbox because our Harbor Freight had a really good sale going on. But anyway, in the process of cleaning that out, I found this thing again. And the thought crossed my mind, do these still work? All these years later, with all the technological advancement that we've had, are police agencies still using the same wavelengths, the same frequencies with their speed detection equipment? So in other words, will a radar detector like this that's old, will it still work? And there's only one way to find out, right? So I put the radar detector on the dash, and actually I've been using it for a little while now. I started using it when I had the Challenger, and obviously swapped it over to this car. And what I've noticed is the answer is yes and no. Yes, they do still work. At least here where I live, the police agencies are still using radar detectors, and they're still using speed detection equipment that has the wavelength and the frequencies that this is capable of picking up. So this will still alert me to speed traps and things of that nature. The problem is that we're going back to that technological advancement thing. Nowadays, vehicles have a lot of systems on board, safety systems that use radar. Okay, so like your blind spot detection, cross path warning, lane, what do they call that? The one where if you're shifting out of your lane, lane departure warning. You know, there's a lot of safety systems on vehicles now that use that same wavelength. You know, they have their own radar and sensors, usually in the corners of the vehicles, that are emitting, you know, radar signals to detect vehicles around you and people around you and so forth and so on. So what happens is if you're out on the highway, driving down the highway, and there's other traffic around you, those vehicles will interfere with this, and it sets this thing off constantly. And before I got rid of the Challenger, I shot a real quick clip to kind of show what I'm talking about. So yes, these do still work. They still will alert you to a speed trap, at least in most places that I've been. But it will get pretty frustrating trying to use it because of all the interference from other radar. So, you know, maybe there are some new radar detectors on the market that are capable of filtering that out. I don't know, but I just wanted to answer the question for myself. Will an old radar detector like this, if you've had one for years and years like I have, will it still work? Or is it basically just a paperweight now? And it's kind of yes and no. I mean, you can put this one on city mode, which kind of filters out a lot of the false signals. And it's better then, but it still will kind of drive you crazy. So, hey, if you guys have one of these things, what's your experience been? You know, from state to state to state, the police agencies use different equipment. Let me know, you know, where you live and if you've got an old radar detector and what your experience has been with it. That'd be pretty cool. All right, guys, so I'm out of here for now. Not going to be using this today because on the way home in this car, I got pulled over. Haven't been pulled over for years and years and years. I had this thing for 30 minutes and got pulled over. So I got to be good now. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later.